Hi guys, and welcome back to Crafty Quilting Designs. I hope you're well and having so much fun with your new beginnings quilt along. So guys, today is block number 3 and I hope you are having real fun with it. Okay, now this is what I want you to take heed of. I don't want you stressing about any blocks that's giving you any issues. Okay, you've got 2 options: to just fix it and start again. That's it. And if you think you cannot mend it or it's just done too wrong, just cut it and start again. Remember, this quilt is all about boosting your self-esteem and boosting your confidence, because you can do this. This is nothing challenging. You can do this. This is our new beginnings quilt. So just get on with it. Have fun. And when I say have fun, enjoy the process. That's what I mean by having fun. Enjoy the process of learning the new skills and then seeing that end result. You know, I always think about the end goal, because for me, as much as I am in the moment of making the quilt, my mind is already thinking about what I'm going to do for the quilting, because I so want to see the end result. So take yourself there, you know, travel through that moment so that you can actually see yourself quilting it and seeing the end result and getting all those praises and compliments from all the people that you're going to show it off to. All right, so today we're going to be making a log cabin, and I want you to pay close attention again to the lights and darks, because again, as you know, with log cabins, they do have a light and a dark side, and this one is particularly important. All right, I don't think there's anything else I can tell you really, other than to keep going. Thank you for all of those who've joined in. It's really exciting to see how many people have actually downloaded the pattern. I think there's probably at least 500 people have actually downloaded the pattern, so that's really fantastic. As usual, I would update the pattern as we go for each week. I could simply just put it on there, but I don't want to inundate you with too much at the same time. So just prefer to give it to you as the week goes by, so you can look back and see a process. That's the whole idea of it, you know, because sometimes when you read a pattern, you're just like, what are they talking about? And I can actually understand that as well. Some people patterns are just like, whoa, where are they going with that? So, you know, so I'm just trying to make it simplistic. And the more you do this, the more you recognize how the pattern actually writes and to read it without making any mistakes. Okay guys, but I'm really excited. I'm so proud of everybody who has actually taken part, you know, and I just wish we can just all have a little gossy chat about quilting. You know, one day I'm going to do a live. Guys, let me know if you'd like to have a live chat with me. You know, give me a thumbs up, definitely. Leave a comment in the description box down below. Is that where you leave the comment? Somewhere down there, you know what I mean. Leave a comment if you'd like us to have a live together at some point where I can make a little project online and then we can have a chat, etc. That would be real fun, wouldn't it? Okay guys, so I think that's it really, you know, other than me wobbling on, which I can stay here and do all day. You probably will just speed through it anyway. Anyway guys, you know, love you guys, you know, thank you so much once again for joining in. And next week we're going to have 4 blocks to make, so once we've done that, you know, it's going to come together very quickly. All right, so guys, happy quilting, bye for now, and I will definitely, I'll say it one more time, definitely see you next week. Alright guys, so it's block number 3. Alright, so this is what we're going to do. Right, so we're going to make a log cabin block, and I have already laid out all of the sizes here. What I wanted to show you here is simply about organization and how to organize yourself so that you don't get anything confused. Now, you're going to be needing some strips of fabric, and again, I'm going to put all the details down below. However, what I have done is just started to cut so I can explain a little bit more. So these are the remnants or the remaining of my strips. Okay, so you need 2 sets of strips with your darks and lights or medium lights, whatever colors you're actually using. From those you're going to cut, and therefore you're going to be making 4 patches with them, okay, which I've already done. Now the colors, when I write them down, and the sizes are going to be written in the order that you see here. So I'm going to start with my lights, medium lights, my florals, etc., my medium darks, my florals, light, and my darks. Okay, so that is the order in which I'm going to write them, with the quantity and the size that you require. What I would say is, once you've actually done your strips, you just need to make your 4 patches, and then the layout can begin and the sewing can begin. So let me take you through now how to put this together quite simply. You require 8 of the log cabin blocks. So let me take this one out of the way and bring the other one in. Okay, as you can see, I'm being very organized, and exactly what I'm showing you here is exactly what I have done. Okay, I am in the process of sewing, so I'm just showing you my process. So this is a log cabin laid out, and again, if you wanted to take the same labeling and place them in the right place, then if for you to remember, then that's fine. Again, so all I'm doing basically is just taking where it's labeled and putting it in its rightful place, so then I don't get myself confused. Okay, so again, you are always reminded of what size you're using. I mean, ideally you shouldn't get confused, because each of the size will not be able to measure correctly. Meaning, once you stitch it on, if it's not right, then you'll know immediately that it's not the right one. Okay, so just make sure, just like I've just put the wrong one on top of the other one there, just make sure that you just don't confuse yourself. And again, having the labels is an easy reminder of what goes where, just in case you happen to get yourself confused. Okay, I will also say, make 1 block, so that you know what you're doing, and then that way there shouldn't be any confusion. All right, because once you've made 1 block, then it's easier to look at that block and then to continue with what you're doing. I'm just making sure my colors here is right. Okay, lovely. All of a sudden I'm starting to feel warm. Brilliant. Okay, all right, so then again, that's all I have done, just to make sure that I've put all of it in the right place and put the labels back. I mean, if that method suits you, fine. If another method suits you, then that's fine also. Okay, now what I have done in reference to chain piecing, so you can chain piece and make about 2 blocks at the same time, which is easier, or you can make it individually. It really doesn't matter. As I said, it is 8 blocks you will be making, so it's not a lot of sewing. All right, I would say once you've got all the cuts ready, you can sit down, lay it out just as it is, so that's where you know exactly what you're picking up first. So to sew, you're going to pick this one up first and fold it over. And again, it's a 1/4 inch seam, and it comes together quite quickly. So what I'm going to do is just sew, and then you can watch me pick up the pieces. Now, all of the pieces or all of the cuts are accurate, so you shouldn't really have a problem. When you are cutting your fat quarters, try to remember again to cut on the right grain, so that way you don't have any sort of bias give in the blocks themselves, just in case you've cut on the stretch grain. All right, so I'm just going to move that aside a little bit and bring my machine in. Now, what I have done is to finger press in between adding all of the blocks, and that way, before I sew that together, let me sew these 2 together first. Just remember the orientation of the 4 patch. So you want your florals at the top and your light mediums down like so. All right, that's important. Okay, and then you line up and then you sew. So as I was saying, you can sew it together as chain piecing, or you can do it individually. I have done both, to be honest, and there isn't any major difference in anything, to be honest. It's really down to you. I made the first block individually, and then my second and third block I made this chain piece in. All right, now when I have done this one, what I have done is to simply open it up, and I'm only doing this because I want that center fore patch to be lovely and flat. And you can put a little heat there from the iron, but to be honest, I have not really used the iron. I have really just finger press, and as you can see, it remains open nice and flat quite easily. I mean, just give it a good finger press and it stays down, and it allows it to stay nice and flat. You can see everything is nicely met there. Okay, so again, just open it up, put a little bit of pressure on it, and it really does stay down. Okay, now when you're laying out your blocks, just remember, don't have it twisted, because you can get it confused quite easily, right? Make sure that your floral print, or your first whatever light or medium lights you have there, that it's upper right. Okay, and then you just simply start. So I'm just going to take my first one from here and right sides together and just sew. And again, because I'm chain piecing, I'm just going to take the same thing again, pick it up and sew. That is literally it. So as I said, you can do it individually, or you can choose to do it as a chain piece. Either way, whatever works for you, it's fine. Now I'm going to take it off, and then what I'm going to do is just separate them. And I'm going to finger press, as again, you do require to press it in between so that the blocks lay really nice and flat. Okay, and if I put that back there, I can immediately see which one comes next, which is that one there. And again, I'm going to fold it over and just continue to press, to sew again. So I mean, laying it out in this format is a lot more easier, and you know, it's quicker in the sense that you don't have to guess or wonder which one goes next, because from the time you actually put the block back down, you can immediately see where it actually goes. All right, and again, just remember to finger press in between. You can iron, but I have chosen to finger press only because just to stay away from going to the iron. And it's quite easy in the sense that you're just following the color patterns really, and the sizes. So once I've opened this back out now, and if I were to put this back, let me just push those to the side a little bit. And if I were to put this back, I can immediately see that the next one is this one here. All right, and all I need to do is just flip it over. Now, just to remind you that if you are using directional prints, and some of my prints are directional, just to make sure that they all go in the same way, but that's entirely down to you. All right, it's just a reminder really that they all go in the same way, so that all of the blocks look the same way. And what I have done is laid it out exactly how I want my actual prints to go. So I know the print on the small triangles on this print here is going upwards, and these ones here are laying to the right. So I've laid it that way. So when I pick it up, I automatically will sew it in that way instead of having to check that I have done it, or to be reminded to check. Another thing that you just need to remember is when you're sewing this is to put the block down. So you're putting the block down on the machine, front sides down, okay? And you are literally sewing. I'm going to put that there just to demonstrate again. So I flip it over, okay? And I'm going to put the block down on the machine, so that way the block is being taken in with the feed dogs, and the strip of fabric is on top. And the reason for doing that is that because there's a little bit of a bias give, on the block themselves, because of all the cutting, etc. The blocks kind of appear bigger as you make it, and then you feel that your strips are short. But as long as you anchor your stitches down and then you hold the ends, you should really be okay. I haven't had any problems at all. And again, I'm just going to finger press and try and keep, and if you notice already, you can see it's quite neat at the back, okay? Because I've opened up my seams there to start with, okay? And just try and keep it finger press as you go. And always try to keep the layout of the block in the orientation that it's supposed to be. So as far as I'm concerned, I am laying my lights to the right and my darks to the left. So every time I sew on, I want to remember that that is the way in which I want it to appear in front of me. So I'm just going to flip this over again there and flip this one over there, making sure that again that the orientation is right if you're using print. And I can see this one is slightly turned, so I'm going to turn it, and again I'm just going to continue sewing. So that is literally it. So what I've done here is to anchor my stitch there, and I'm just simply holding it so that it's nice and in place. Okay, and if I were to put this back, I can simply see already that everything is lining up the way it's supposed to be. All right, so I'm going to continue to do that. You can watch me do a little bit of sewing, and then I will come back and show you the completed block. Okay guys, so we have the last strip to sew on. I'm just going to put it back in its place, so hopefully you can get the idea of it quite easily. And I'm just finger pressing again. As it is, the block is lovely and flat at the moment. Okay, so it's relatively simplistic to sew together. The last piece is there, and as I was saying, everything should fit together quite easily. You really shouldn't have any problem in sewing the block together at all. All right, so I'm going to put this to the side there because I've already sewn on these. As you can see, that fits in there and that fits in right there. Okay, so these blocks are already sewn in. So the next block now is the bottom piece here, so I'm just going to flip over. Okay, now what I wanted to mention also is where possible and where I needed to join any pieces of fabric. Now, to be honest, I didn't need to. I had more fabric to cut, but if I've already cut the strip and say, let's say for example, that bit was left from the actual whole strip from the rest of the cut, I will get another piece and then add it on just to make the whole thing, rather than cutting a whole length of the strip, of the length of the fabric or the width of the fabric for the fat quarters, just to save the fabric really. Okay, as long as you have give it a nice seam there, open it nicely, it should be okay. I haven't had any problems. This is my 5th and 6th, I think, block I'm actually making at this point here. So put it over there. I'm just going to open up this one again. Always get into the habit of laying the block out in its right orientation so that you don't get confused, and then adding your strips of fabric on top. Okay, now again, providing you've cut everything nicely, you shouldn't have a problem with anything short, and the block will inform you as to which size is going on. If you work in the manner of moving all the way around, you should be okay. So remember, we start with the center, then we went there, then we went there, then we went there. So you're completing your blocks in a circle every time. Okay, right, so I'm going to sew this bit on now, and then what we're going to do after that is give it a nice press on the back to make sure it's lovely and flat, and then that is our log cabins completed. Very quick block, I must say. As long as you have all the cuts together, everything comes together quite quickly. The sewing is really easy peasy. And of course, I'm chain piecing, so in reality, I've made 2 blocks on the go at the same time, rather than doing it individually. But as I said before, whatever is the easiest construction of the quilt top for you, by all means, do what's easier or familiar for you. I must say, guys, I'm getting really excited about this quilt. It's looking really beautiful. I posted the center block on my Facebook page, and oh my God, guys, the amount of response I've had. So please go check that out. Go see what other people are saying on my Facebook blog. Is really, really fantastic to see what people are getting involved with. But yeah, really nice actually, really, really nice. A lot of people are actually taking part. All right, so let me bring in the ironing board and give it a good old press, and let's see what this looks like and tell you the measurements in which it should measure at. Let's move that aside, move this aside. Now, if you wanted to, as I said, you can choose to use the iron in between to iron the blocks, but I felt that finger pressing was fine for me. I didn't really have a problem with it at all. So all I'm going to do is get rid of all the threads at the back. I don't know about you guys, but I really like my projects to be thread free. It just is something that really annoys me about that. I think I've said that before, but nevertheless. Okay, so that is it there. So remember, our back is open nice, so I'm just going to give it a little bit of a stamp just pressing down on it just to make sure that the seams lay lovely and flat. And all I'm doing is pulling out, because you know when it comes to forming a block such as this where there's lots of seams, you tend to get folds. So I'm just pulling it out so it lays really flat. I'm not pulling on it heavily, I'm just tugging just to make sure it comes out, the folds disappear really. That's literally, I'm not pulling to distort it. All right, so don't overuse the word pulling. All right, so I'm just going to go at the front now, and now I'm going to add a bit of steam to it and just flatten out that block. It looks absolutely lovely. Let's do the other one. Again, remove all of those threads if you possibly can, and just simply flatten it at the back. Now, the easier it is at the back in terms of it being lovely and flat, if you are going to be quilting it, it does make life a lot more easier if that is done. If the seams are really lovely and flat at the back, it really does help. I have noticed that based on, you know, the amount of quilts I've actually quilted. So if it's really flat at the back, trust me, it's a lot more easier. I'm just going to add some steam just to make sure it's lovely. Let's go back there. I felt a bit of a lump. Okay, so that's literally it, guys. So that is our block there. All right, so go ahead. You need 8 in total, and that is what it looks like. Okay, absolutely gorgeous. I love the colors, and make sure that you can actually see your lights to darks. That's very important. Okay, now I love that block being there, but if you wanted a lighter block there, that's entirely down to you. But I put that there on purpose, so don't think I made a mistake. I put that there on purpose. I just love that color block there. All right, but it's entirely down to you. Remember, this is your quilt. Do what makes you feel happy and do what you are happy with. All right, okay, so let's find out the block size for this, which is 12.5. okay, now if you feel that the block is slightly bigger or distorted in any way, because the steam of the iron can do that when it comes to the shapes, I would say don't interfere with it. Don't trim it, because it's where the block has gone out of shape. Just leave it as it is. Okay, and once we are sewing, we should be able to join it in properly without any problem. So if it's slightly distorted, don't go trimming it, just leave it alone. All right, the last thing you want is for your blocks to be short, so just a tiny little bit, because I know I can be fiddly. A tiny little bit is not a big issue. Okay guys, so that's it for this week. So next week is our final 2 blocks together, and we'll be making 4 blocks for next week once. All right, so this week is 8, so get your 8 blocks all ready, and yeah, we're almost there. Okay, right, so happy quilting, guys, and I'll see you again next week. Any questions, please do not hesitate to give me a little tinkle, and I shall see you then. Bye for now, and happy quilting.